OCP and zoning amendments related to the regulation of short-term rental accommodations in electoral areas A, C, D, E, F, and I. At this public hearing, all persons wishing to speak will be given an opportunity to do so and are asked to commence their remarks by stating their name and address. Written comments may be submitted before closure of this hearing. Anyone wishing to speak at this public hearing is asked to do one of the following. If you are participating in person, please step up to the microphone. And if you're participating by computer, please click the raise hand button, which can be found in the participants panel on the right-hand side of your computer screen. This will indicate that you wish to speak. If you are participating by phone, please press *3 on your phone's keypad. This will also indicate that you wish to speak. Having indicated that you wish to speak, you will then be placed in a queue and until you are invited to speak. All speakers will be restricted to a time limit of 5 minutes until everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to speak a second time may do so by following the same protocol of stepping up to the microphone, selecting the raise hand button on your computer, or by pressing *3 on your phone's keypad. To submit written comments, please submit them prior to the close of this public hearing by emailing them to planning@rdos.bc.ca. For those attending in person, placing them at the head table will work. I will now declare this public hearing reopened and ask if there is anyone who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaws. Please step up to the microphone if you would, miss.
Good morning. My name is Haley Mullen and I live at 2625 Gammon Road. I'm here to voice my opposition to the proposed short-term rental restrictions. I believe these changes would have a huge negative impact on our community, which goes far beyond just property owners. I am a small business owner here in the area, and I truly believe that our businesses depend on our visitors. Over the past 5 years, our businesses in our region have weathered an incredible amount. COVID lockdowns, highway closures, cold snaps, wildfires, tariffs, more tariffs, the list goes on. Each of these challenges alone has been beyond difficult, and together they've left lasting effects. We have seen so many businesses come and go, and for those still here, tourism and in conjunction, short-term rentals make it possible for businesses to keep afloat. The truth is, as much as we try and fight it, we do live in a tourist town, and that is not something to be ashamed of. Visitors bring vitality, energy, and revenue. Many of the shops, restaurants, and services we all enjoy simply could not survive on the support of full-time residents alone. As much as we all want to support local, we are not going out for dinner every night. We are not buying all our groceries at the local general store, and we are not renting paddle boards for days at a time. Visitors provide the additional support that allow these businesses to thrive. This includes not only hospitality businesses, but also local companies who clean, maintain, and service these properties, not to mention the enormous wedding industry that we have here. Some have argued that young families cannot afford to live here because of short-term rentals, and schools are empty because of it. But that's not true. It is 2025, and families look different now than they did 20 years ago. Not everyone chooses to have children, myself included, and that doesn't make their or my family any less important. I also happen to know there is a very large and growing homeschool community in Naramata alone. If schools are struggling with enrollment, maybe that speaks more to issues within the school system than with short-term rentals. As of today, there is no proof that limiting STRs will make housing prices drop. There is no evidence showing this outcome in other communities that have enacted similar restrictions. We live in one of the most beautiful and sought-after places in British Columbia, arguably in all of Canada, and the theory that all of a sudden housing here will become more affordable is unrealistic. However, taking income or homes away from people who have worked their whole lives for them is not community-minded. Rather than punishing homeowners and small business operators who contribute to our local economy, we should be working together to find balanced, creative solutions that support housing while still preserving the tourism that sustains this community. I would also like to mention that we have created a petition with over 100 signatures of those opposed to these new regulations. And we would be happy to share them with you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaws, either in the room or online? Okay, I'll go to one person online. If you can queue them up, please, Adam. And that is Liam. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yes.
Hi, thanks. Just want to echo what that lady just said. That was very well articulated and positioned. I really can't agree, I think, anymore with everything that she had just said. You'll remember me from my earlier question, and I know this is not the place for questions, but the inability to articulate the principal resident requirement and why we opted in is problematic from my view. My here is to also express my opposition to the short-term restrictions, or the short-term rental restrictions. I will give one example. So we did try to rent our property out. The province's, I think, intended purpose for this and why it's being adopted here is to provide housing for local residents. We tried to do a long-term rental and we're unable to find somebody. Whereas if we do short-term, we do get people in. People do come and for tourism, to come see the wineries, to come visit the lake, to spend money in this community. Whereas if we are unable to live here, the house will sit empty, which is not great for the community, not great for us as well. So that is really just all I wanted to say about expressing my opinion of it and my opposition to the restrictions.
Okay, thank you. I don't know whether you stated your name and that. Your name, yes, but your address, if you could.
Liam, I'm at 1344 Brocky Place in Okanagan Falls.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks for your comments. Anyone else? I'll take the gentleman in the room here. Please step up to the microphone.
Good morning. My name is Rod Ryu. I live at 2625 Gammon Road in Naramata. I am here as a concerned citizen of Naramata. I live here year-round and I do not own a vacation home. However, I strongly oppose the amendment that would restrict short-term rentals to only primary residents. I have researched this issue and collected data that shows the risk to our community. The argument for the restrictions is that short-term rentals take home away from year-round resident and increase housing costs. However, research shows a very different picture. The Conference Board of Canada found that less than 1% of rent increase between 2016 and 2020 could be attributed to short-term rentals. And according to the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, BC needs over 500,000 new housing units by 2030 to regain affordability. But there are only about 28,000 active STRs in the entire province, just 5% of that gap. In Naramata specifically, there are only about 30 full homes currently listed on Airbnb, which is less than half the homes listed for sale. Short-term rentals are not the reason for BC's housing crisis. Limiting them will not magically produce long-term housing. The reality is that if STRs are shut down, most of these homes will remain vacant, not convert into long-term rentals. We also do not have the hotel infrastructures of larger cities. The few available rooms are fully booked during the summer and are not suitable for larger families, wedding parties, or guests seeking private experience. Without STRs, these visitors will vacation elsewhere. The numbers show just how vital this is. Tourism in the Okanagan supports 30,800 jobs and generate $2.6 billion annually. That's about 15% of all overnight spending in BC. Across the province, studies show that for every $100 spent on accommodation, guests spend an additional $260 locally on restaurants, wineries, and shops. That is money flowing directly into small businesses and our community. Restricting short-term rentals does not just impact homeowners, it also affects wineries, fruit stands, tour operators, and local workers who rely on spending. Short-term rentals also meet other critical community needs, like emergency housing when homes are damaged by wildfires or floods, temporary housing for traveling nurses and doctors, transitional housing for local families between buying and selling a home or during renovation. Instead of rigid restrictions, I urge the RDOS to advocate for local flexibility by considering seasonal exemptions that allow short-term rental in the summer months while encouraging long-term rentals in the off-season. Let's work together and find a solution that protects both our housing goals and economic well-being. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I believe there was one more person online, Adam, if you could put them up. And I would just remind folks that it's not the best situation in public hearings to clap or boo, if the case is, to someone speaking. It's kind of intimidating for anybody else to speak. So if you could refrain from that, that would be much appreciated. And we have Adrian online. I see you're unmuted, so go ahead.
Perfect, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am, my address is 29 Walton Way in Port Moody. I am a Naramata investor, part-time resident, and hope to very soon become a full-time resident in Naramata. I wholeheartedly agree with the comments that have been just made there, and I completely disagree with two aspects of the proposed bylaw amendments, specifically around the principal residence. There is no, to me, this is a red herring. There is absolutely no evidence to support that the Naramata area has a chronic rental housing shortage. There's no documented evidence of that. And if there was, why are you allowing STRs at home, in any home? Shouldn't short-term rentals, why are we allowing them in principal residence? Those types of residents also provide houses for long-term residents. So to me, it's a red herring. The only other rationale that I was able to find to justify not allowing short-term rentals was noise, parking, and neighborhood character. And given that I've had long-term rentals before, please trust that noise does not go away with long-term rentals. Parking issues aren't resolved with just by allowing long-term rentals, and neighborhood character is often destroyed, but also by long-term rentals. The upside of a short-term rental is that I can act and I can have that person out of there in a weekend. Whereas a long-term rental under the existing BC Tenancy Act often takes months, if not years, to get rid of problem tenants. The first person that spoke so eloquently, let's face it, Naramata is a tourist destination. Yet the proposed bylaws explicitly discourage tourist accommodations. We should not be entrenching specific language discouraging tourist accommodation in an economy that thrives on tourism. So I adamantly disagree with the principal residence requirement and including any language in a bylaw that discourages tourist accommodation. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I would ask, is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaws? Either in the room, online, or on phone? Please come up to the microphone and go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Amanda Fish, and I live on 1325 Upper Debeck Road. We have a B&B out of a permanent residency home. We are closing it. We tick all the boxes of the province, as well as all requirements of parking and health. The time when we applied for our bed and breakfast, we had a inspector that came around. The reason is that there has not been done any background on what my husband mentioned previously about the time then when we sell our home, which will be serve as either a 3-4 bedroom home to, at the moment, we have 2 bedrooms on our upper level with a kitchenette. I can't have a range, or I can't rent it out long term because I will not qualify for a long-term rental. So if I sell my home and it's a third, and I'm going back to the same point that we made, if we sell our home, 30% of the house is currently being used 30 days of the year for a bed and breakfast. We will pay capital gains. The province, the decision-making changes every year to different bylaws or different requirements. So we can't trust the system anymore. So therefore, we are closing our bed and breakfast in a permanent residency. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Sir, come on up to the microphone if you would, please.
Morning. My name is Brian Goodwin, 2260 Naramata Road. I do not own a personal short-term rental, but I am a big advocate in tourism. I just wanted to go over a few data points I thought were really interesting. From Travel Penticton, we found that there was 646,000 visitors supporting over 3,600 local jobs in the Penticton area. And of these reservation payouts, there was $5 million in tourism-related taxes, including MRDT and STR license fees. We're finding that there's $147 million in Penticton, or $147 million spent in Penticton food and beverage, retail, and local transportation. Obviously locals can't support, not going out to the restaurants every single day. We need this tourism to support these local businesses. The winery industry, I mean, that's a whole other topic. Winery industry is huge for BC tourism. Guests coming for winery related trips are spending upwards of $350 a day per guest per day on the wine industry. We've also seen that STRs can be directly related to 10% of Penticton's workforce from local housekeeping companies and just local businesses that support STRs. Yeah, we just find that tourism is a very, very important part of, the Okanagan, and we need to support it instead of stifle it. We find that there can be a healthy balance between tourism and the local, real estate market. We just need to come to, a unified decision on what that would look like. But that's about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I'll ask again, is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Either in the room or online or by phone? Am I missing anybody online, Adam? Okay, I'll ask a second time. Anyone wishing to speak? And for a third and final time, anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaws? Online, there's one. If you could put them up or bring them in. Tessa, if you would unmute yourself, Tessa, you're free to go. Have to unmute, we're not hearing you. Is there something we can do to help Tessa speak, Adam? Okay, if we could go to them next, and we'll try Tessa again here in a moment. Ben, if you would unmute yourself, you're welcome to speak.
Perfect. Thank you. My name is Ben. I'm a part-time resident in Naramata. I split my time between Naramata and Vancouver. I do have a vacation rental. We have one of the 14 TUP licenses and a provincial license. I actually support the regulation of vacation rentals. I think an important distinction that's been made is, to some degree, what's being proposed technically makes it easier to get a permit in a lot of ways for these vacation rentals. I think what's not discussed enough is how many unlicensed vacation rentals there are. But what I do directly oppose are two elements of this. One is the principal residency piece of it. I will say I'm not impacted by these rules. This does not impact what we're doing, but as a general statement, the concerns about lack of tourism and the damage done to businesses, I think, is very real. We regularly have friends try to come up to Naramata that have nowhere to stay and go elsewhere as a result. There's just simply not enough accommodation in the area to support the tourism that local businesses need. The other distinction that I've heard a lot of concern from, that again does not impact me, but I think is a problem in this, is the currently operating bed and breakfasts, which do a great job of supplying tourist accommodations. I think them getting lumped in with vacation rentals with what seems like very unclear regulations on how many rules they can have. We've heard concerns from multiple people here. I do think it's an important distinction that is not properly addressed in these bylaws, and I think that is something that should be considered before this is approved. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. And I could ask Adam to bring Tessa back up if she still has her hand up. And if you could unmute yourself, Tessa, now that you're into the session, you're free to speak. We're not hearing you. You're showing as still muted. Guess that's a no-go. Okay, for a third and final time, I'll ask, is there anyone who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaws? Not seeing any hands here. Am I missing any online, Adam? Okay, I will hereby declare this public hearing closed at 9:24. And thank you everybody for your attendance. We'll move straight into the regular regional district Okanagan-Smilkameen board meeting. We have the agenda before us. Opportunity for anything to be removed off the consent agenda. If there's anything that needs to be discussed in the regular portion. Not seeing anything to be removed, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. Consent agenda, the corporate issues, looking for a motion to deal with that one. Is there a mover? Thank you. Seconder? Great, thank you. All those in favor? Perfect. Any opposed? That motion carries. That brings us to items under B, Development Services, B1. I'll go to the CAO.
Thank you, Chair. An application has been submitted to the Agricultural Land Commission under Section 21.2 of the Agricultural Land Commission Act and referred to the Regional District in order to permit a subdivision to occur within the Agricultural Land Reserve. Specifically, this applicant is seeking the Commission to approve a two-lot subdivision, with the staff recommendation being that the RDOS Board authorize the application to subdivide the parcel legally described as Part SE 1/4, Section 3, Township 65, except line northwest of highway shown on Plan H415 to proceed to the Agricultural Land Commission. There's no PowerPoint presentation, but staff's here to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. And if I could ask someone to move this for me as the staff recommendation moved, seconded, thank you. Any discussion on this? Not seeing any hands. This is a corporate vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Down to B2. I'll go to the CAO and DVP in Area D.
Thank you. This application is seeking variance to the minimum front parcel line setback and maximum parcel coverage regulations that apply to the subject property in order to undertake the construction of a front entryway, as well as formalizing the following structures. And they are partially covered rear deck, existing unpermitted addition to the rear of the principal dwelling, and 3 accessory buildings, with the staff recommendation being a development variance permit D 2025.019 to allow the construction of an addition to the principal dwelling and to formalize multiple buildings and structure at 4813 Patton Place, Okanagan Falls, be denied. No presentation, but staff's here to answer questions.
Okay, I'll go to Director Taylor. Direction on this?
Yes, I'd like to refer this to the APC with an additional request that it be brought back. Actually, well, there's a special meeting on September 29th, and I'd like it to be brought back verbally at the October 2nd meeting.
Okay. Seconder, thank you. Any discussion on that? Going to the APC, that turns it to a corporate vote. Can I ask the corporate officer? Just to be sure.
Mr. Chair, I think it just remains
As rural, okay. So rural vote, all those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. B3, another zoning amendment, this time in Area I, CAO.
Thank you. This application is seeking to amend the zoning of the subject property in order to allow for a home industry with a maximum floor area of 200 square meters in the form of a welding and fabrication business, with the staff recommendation being that the Okanagan Valley Zoning Amendment Bylaw 2800.58/2025 be read a first and second time and proceed to public hearing, and that the holding of a public hearing be scheduled for the Regional District Board meeting of October 2nd, 2025, and that staff give notice to the public hearing in accordance with the requirement of the Local Government Act. And again, staff's here and no presentation.
Okay, I'll go to Director Monteith. Direction?
Thank you. I'd like to make the administrative recommendation.
Moving it, seconder. It's on the floor. Any discussion? Go ahead, Director Monteith.
Thank you, through the chair. I do fully support this application. I guess maybe it's just a housekeeping request of staff. My question specifically is this property in the fire service area? And that's not listed in the report. So it makes it really hard for me to understand the consequence. So I support this application, but I want to make sure that they are in the fire service area. And if they're not, I want to make that part of the recommendation, because the neighboring properties are all part of the fire service area, all the way to the Green Mountain, or the grow up on 3A, they're part of it. So if they are, they're across the street, so they should be as well.
Okay.
So I guess I don't expect an answer right now of staff, but I just, no.
You had
But I would like to make, whether it be an amendment or something that if it's not done, that is part of the requirement for the approval.
They'll check that out for sure. No problem. Any other discussion on this? Seeing no hands, call the question again, rural vote. All those in favor?
Sorry, question. Yeah.
One other, go ahead.
If this is make a motion to approve it, is that correct?
It's to give it first reading, or first and second, and
Okay.
proceed to public hearing.
Okay, thank you. So that'll come back. Okay.
Yep. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Down to B4, this time in Area F, a zoning bylaw amendment, CAO.
Thank you. This application is seeking to amend the zoning of the subject property in order to allow for an accessory building as a permitted accessory use, with staff recommendation being that the Okanagan Valley zoning amendment bylaw 2800.57/2025 be denied. Again, no presentation, but staff's here to answer questions.
Okay, I'll go to Director Gettins. Direction on this?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'll defer it to the ABC, please.
You'd like to move it goes to your APC? Seconded? Any discussion on that? I'm not seeing any. Call the question, roll vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. Down to B5, this time Area D zoning bylaw amendment, CAO.
Thank you. So this report is in regard to proposed zoning amendment bylaw to introduce a series of text amendments to the current zoning bylaw that would allow for exemption to the current off-street parking requirements for a selected number of parcels fronting Highway 97 in Okanagan Falls, with the staff recommendation being that the Okanagan Valley zoning amendment bylaw 2800.55/2025 be read a third time. Again, no presentation, but staff's here to answer questions.
I'll go to Director Taylor. Your mic is not quite on yet. There we are.
I'll move the administrative recommendation.
Okay, mover, seconded. Thank you. Any discussion on this? Go ahead, Director Taylor.
Yeah, I think this removes a small but important challenge for new business and helps promote growth in Okanagan Falls. So for those reasons, I'm moving it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Not seeing any hands either online or in the room, so we'll call the question a rural vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. Down to B6, short-term rental review, CAO.
Thank you again. The purpose of this report is to introduce land use amendments to facilitate the regulations of short-term rental accommodations, that is vacation rentals and bed and breakfast operations uses in the Okanagan electoral areas, with the staff recommendation being that the official community plan amendment bylaw 3399/2025 be read a third time, and the Okanagan Valley zoning amendment bylaw 2800.50/2025 be read a third time, as amended by the deleting section 2.1, and the CAO delegation amendment bylaw 3033.02/2025 be read a third time, and that the development procedure amendment bylaw 2500.30/2025 be read a third time. And no presentation again, but staff's here to answer questions, and it's 2500.36.
Okay, and this one needs to be broken down into two votes. The first section being a rural vote, but Director Federico?
Thank you, the Chair. I will move the staff administrative recommendation and then I will speak to it.
Okay, so you're moving it, seconded. Thank you. Go ahead, Director Federico.
Thank you, through the Chair. So I'm going to try and not make this long-winded, but I appreciate the comments that came out of the public hearing, and all of those points are completely bang on, which is why we didn't opt into the province. So part of the reason for doing this is, even if we didn't change anything, the TUP process that right now that has been in place since 2012 is an opt-in method, essentially. Essentially, our current bylaws say you have to live on your residence, and then if it's a B&B is an acceptable use, and it's just gone. Part of the challenge that has been heard for many, many, many years is that there's been no way to bring people into compliance. We've had a ton of B&Bs, short-term rentals, tourist accommodations, everything under the sun where you're renting out a space in your house has been happening with no compliance. So simply through these proposals is to tease out that TUP process to make it easier for principal resident owners who live in our community, but still give the option of the TUP process for those where this is a second home. The economy is incredibly important. When I went through AirDNA, and our tourist accommodation through short-term rentals is a $1 to $4 million industry. It wasn't about something that we were going to just squash. Through our OCP process for the last few years, the biggest thing that came out from that group is that we would like to see more residents. So the simple change in the language in the OCP is to encourage you to be a principal resident. Come live in Naramata, in our area, long before retirement. We have lots of great options out here. We're a great place to be year-round and not just when you are older. So simply through that language change was to welcome residents as full-time people living in our community. It's not to discourage it from being, it kind of is, but we're just saying, come live here. That is all. We haven't completely taken out all of the rules that deny you that if it isn't your principal residence, that you can't do a short-term rental. It's just options for everybody and bringing everybody in the community into compliance. There's a number of permanent residents who've been running their B&Bs for years or short-term rentals in non-compliance. In this way, it brings the entire community and everybody onto the level playing field and in compliance. So I appreciate all of the sentiments that came out of this morning. Everyone is 100% in where they're at. I agree, but we needed to tease out a process and just get to where we're at. So thank you.
Okay. Director Taylor?
Similarly, I'd like to make some comments. Area D was opted in to acknowledge that the TUP process was non-functional and ineffective. At the time, there were some 140 Airbnbs with approximately 6 TUPs. It was also an acknowledgement that it was part of a larger suite of regulatory changes addressing housing. It was not in and of itself ever considered to be the silver bullet and the ultimate solution for the housing problem. Just one part of a larger range of legislative tools that were being brought to bear. It was a complicated problem. It's a complicated solution, as we've heard. That said, high level of non-compliance was what we were addressing, and essentially a completely unregulated industry. And my hope is that we'll have improved compliance, and over time, I think we've identified, and I think we're well aware already of what the next range of changes needs to be at least considered, and whether that's at a provincial level or, in our case, I hope, by a mayor and council, remains to be seen. I will say that STRs remain an important asset in the community and in the local economy. They will now be provincially regulated, as are many other sectors of the economy. Many previously operated STRs will still be able to comply with the new regulatory system. So thank you very much, and hope this passes.
Okay. I've got Director Gettins and then Director Monteith. Go ahead, Director Gettins.
Thanks, Chair. And I just want to say thank you to those that came to the Q&A in the public hearing. I wanted to just clarify for Area F that because through passing these bylaws, short-term rentals will be an allowed use in Area F, that the temporary use permit will no longer be required. That was one of the questions that came up this morning, and I just wanted to make sure that that was clearly understood, that a temporary use permit would not be required for short-term rentals in Area F. And if you can just get that confirmed by staff, that would be really great.
I see staff ready to go. Go ahead.
To the chair, yes, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Director Monteith. And then Director Roberts.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. I just want it just go on record. I fully support tourism. I fully support short-term rentals. This is just a way of making sure our communities stay local. And that we have those mortgage helpers for those who want to have a rental in their home, absolutely do it. But this is a process. The TUP process has failed and has not worked for our area. So I'm happy that we're at this point. I just want to also clarity the impact on Apex. Apex is not part of this. Is that correct?
I'll go to staff.
To the chair, yes, that's correct. There's an amendment bylaw that will be considered shortly on the agenda. It includes an exemption for Apex. Business licenses will not be applied at Apex.
Thank you.
Okay. Director Roberts.
Thank you. And in regards to Area G, of course, we don't have any of these. We didn't buy into the province legislation with SDRs, and at this point in time don't have any issues. However, speaking in regards to globally and realizing that, you know, each area has their own complications, their own housing needs, their own support. I support the different directors and the different routes that they are taking. I think it's important also to know that I know that there's some frustration or fear from some of the people in the areas that have opted into the provincial one. And it's just to realize that the provincial one, that by each March, you do have an opportunity as a community to reach out to your director. And then if there's enough people, I don't know the process, but it's something that can be reevaluated. I just think it's important that the public know that there's opportunities, and and that works with any one of us. As Director Taylor had so well spoke, they're not the silver bullets. They're things that we're working and trying and doing the best that we can for our communities, and each one of us are taking our community's needs to the top priority in all our decisions, and that everybody here is doing it with the right intent, and that there's always an opportunity moving forward to reevaluate decisions that we make as directors. And again, I applaud the different areas and the different ways that they've decided to look at the STR process. Not a Freudian slip.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Director Holmes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. There were a number of comments in the public hearing about that there not being a shortage of rental housing in some of these places. I just say, it's not just about rental housing. It's about what kind of community do you want to be, and if there's no permanent residency requirement, then that building isn't a home; it's a business. And it's operating in an area that's not zoned for business, and that changes the character of that neighborhood. And you even have to question, why do we bother with zoning if you're operating a business in a residential area? Short-term rentals were originally designed to be like a mortgage helpers and things like that. They weren't designed to be a business operations. And we heard that there are very few hotel accommodations available in Naramata. And well, you can look at that a different way. Maybe the reason there's so few hotel accommodations in Naramata, maybe the reason Naramata Inn is always closing is because there's so many unregulated short-term rentals. So there's different ways of looking at these things. And so I think that's what's being trying to be captured here. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other discussion? Director Bloomfield?
Thank you. And as a municipal director looking in on all of this discussion, and we've got the different areas that have the different needs and wants, and now there's a myriad of different regulations regarding short-term rentals, regarding business licenses, regarding what's allowed, what's not allowed. It's brought about a lot of confusion amongst the public, especially public that are, trying to operate a business in an area. They don't understand what they need, and or if they're looking to move into an area, they're not sure what the regulations are. So I think that it would be a good move for the regional district to have a fairly basic cheat sheet for the residents to show what is allowed in each area and what is not allowed when it comes to tourist accommodation, business licenses, and everything else that has been opted in and out of over these past few months with the different areas.
All right, good suggestion. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question on this portion is a rural vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. And then we need the second portion of this, which is the CAO delegation portion. Someone prepared to move that? Moved, seconded, thank you. Any discussion on this? Seeing no hands, this is a corporate vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. down to B7, the business licensing regulations, CAO.
Thank you. The purpose of this report is to introduce business license regulations in relation to tourist accommodations uses for electoral area E, with the staff recommendation being the business license regulation amendment bylaw 3100.01 2025 and fees and charges amendment bylaw 3097.02 2025 be adopted. No presentation, but staff's here to answer questions.
Okay, and again, this one is two sections or two separate votes. So I'll go to Director Federico.
I will move the staff administrative recommendation.
Okay, so that's the first portion, which is the participants vote for A, B, D, E, F, G, and I to bring in business licensing. It's moved, seconding it. Thank you. It's on the floor. It says A, B, D, E, F, G, and I as participants. Is that correct? I think B is in there, but not bringing in business licenses at this time, but I'll double check with.
Yes.
And same with G, yeah.
To the chair, areas B and G are part of the service establishment bylaw. They do not at this time have a business license requirement.
Okay. Good point to make, that you're not bringing in business licenses yet, or your phones would be buzzing probably. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, the participants vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. And then the second portion of this is the fees and charges bylaw. Although I need a motion on that. Moved, seconded, thank you. This is corporate vote. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the, oh, you have a question, Director Taylor? Go ahead.
Just want to confirm that we've removed traditional B&Bs from areas D and I guess for that matter, A.
Yeah, I'll go to staff.
To the chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? Director Monteith?
Thank you. Through the chair. So this is where Apex is exempt, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Can we make that very clear to Apex residents? Like, I want a press release or something, because it is very confusing for Apex, so.
Yes.
Because they're not, through the whole process, they have not been identified. Like, nowhere have I seen Apex. So that needs, especially in a bylaw, like it needs to be there to be very clear, so.
Okay, it's been committed to. Any other discussion? Seeing none, corporate vote, all in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Directors, Coyne Senior is opposed. Okay, on this portion, he can vote, yep. That motion does carry, and that brings us down to protective services, the flood defense system deployment policy, CAO.
Thank you. The proposed flood defense system policy aims to establish common understanding for the key terms and concepts, protocol of the deployment, management, and demobilization of temporary flood defense systems, including concurrent or consecutive flood events, safety standards to personnel tasked to deploy the systems, training and exercise schedules for personnel on the deployment systems, a post-event evaluation and continuous improvement process, with the staff recommendation being that the board adopt the flood defense system deployment policy, and staff's here to answer questions.
Okay, direction from the board on this? We prepared to adopt that? Mover, seconder, thank you. Any discussion on this or questions about it? Director Taylor?
You know, I've read the brief, and I guess I'm just wondering if you can just discuss some of the means you'd use by which to prioritize different locations competing at the same time.
Okay, I'll go to staff. Deborah.
Thank you, through the chair. So some of the things that we would look at is the type of flooding that is happening and the usage of what kind of product that we would use. So for example, if the Tiger dams wouldn't necessarily be really good on a raging river, but they would definitely be good supporting around structures, excuse me, in a flooded area, say lake flooding and et cetera. So it would be depending on the use that we need. It would be depending on the safety of deployment and also the risk to residents. So there's higher risk in different areas depending on what is happening in this situation.
Okay. Anything further? Oh, I'm missing a hand. Director Coyne, Senior, go ahead.
Yeah, I just really am ecstatic about this. I think this is one really, really good idea, way past due. Since kind of Tulameen area that kind of lived through flood season every year, and there's never ever really been a plan, and it's always been a knee-jerk reaction, and depending on management at the time, we get different results. So I think this is just getting the politics out of the game and putting it into the hands of the people that are qualified to deal with it. And kudos to you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? Not seeing any hands, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. Brings us down to Finance, Area C Community Works Gas Tax, and I'll go to the CAO.
Thank you. The purpose of this report is to authorize funds required to complete safety upgrades to the Willowbrook Fire Hall driveway, with the staff recommendation being that bylaw 31-18-2025 being a bylaw that authorizes the expenditure of $20,000 from the Area C Community Works Program Reserve Fund for the purpose of installing a concrete pad in one of the Willowbrook Fire Halls be read a first, second, and third time and be adopted, and that bylaw 3102.05-2025 being a bylaw to amend the 2025 to 2029 five-year financial plan to include the expenditure of $20,000 from the Community Works Reserve be read a first, second, and third time and be adopted. No presentation. Staff's here to answer questions.
Okay, I'll go to Director Chahal. Direction on this.
Thank you. Through the chair, I would like to move that the motion be adopted.
Moved, seconded. It's on the floor. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss. So what's
Sure, go
happening there is the gravel in front of the fire engine bay, it's sinking from the weight of the truck. So essentially, Tony, he wants a concrete pad there so they can pull out their trucks, they can safely and cleanly wash their vehicles, do maintenance. And I agree with him. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you for sharing what they're trying to do. Any further discussion? Seeing no hands, again, corporate vote, all in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. Down to Legislative Services. Smilkameen Visitors Information Center Contribution Service, CAO.
Thank you. The purpose of this report is to amend the service establishment bylaw to remove reference to the Similkameen Country Development Association, add provisions for annual audits, and remove the appointment percentage provision, with the staff recommendation being that the Similkameen Visitors Information Center Contribution Service Establishment Agreement bylaw 2622.01/2025 be adopted.
It's moved. Is there a seconder for this? It's seconded. Any discussion on it? Not seeing any hands. Again, corporate vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. Over to CAO reports. Over to the CAO.
Thank you. There's a few things. One of them, shortly, you're going to be hearing about the Strategic Priorities Board Amendment requisitions and requests. Again, that's just to remind the board, anytime that there's any changes for projects, the board can only change it, and this is one of the areas. But before that, just a quick update. We had our first pop-up office in Keremeus this week. There wasn't a lot of people there, but those that were there were very appreciative that we went to the public. that was a common theme where people were able to have their answers responded immediately. Even if the staff wasn't there that could answer, we picked up the phone and phoned the staff and they left with an answer, or they were told that there would be an answer the following day. So a majority of there was a lot of compliments, and believe it or not, some of them were on the bins. So, and we're talking about the Similkameen. So it's not all bad news. And I was very happy. We did have one of the staff members that was ready to take questions, and she was very pleasantly surprised that she had a lot of compliments. One of the other things that I want to bring up, talking about strategic priorities, where we stated that essentially the board members, you as directors would come to me and I would bring it up as a future next meeting request. And that's for amendment for add dark skies and for the official community plan. So there'll be something coming to the board next meeting because we need at least 2 weeks to make the changes. With that, I want to get Matt here to talk about the strategic priorities requests with you, and I'll turn this over to Matt.
Go ahead, Matt.
Good morning. Adam, I think there's, yes, thank you. So you do have a report in front of you. This is just a review of that in case you haven't had the opportunity to review each of those steps. We'd like to take this opportunity to come to the board when staff want to make changes to the plan. We recognize that it is October, it's the end of the third quarter for this year. I've been meeting with each of the teams and collecting feedback, and there are different reasons for some of the changes in front of you. So it's an opportunity to ask questions and get a better understanding. So we'll start with that. So what we are asking for is to make some changes as detailed in schedules A, B, and C. We've broken it down into a removal, a few deferrals, and a few scope changes. And that's what we'll have a quick look at. So in Schedule A, there's one action that is being recommended for removal. This is an information services project that would require upgrading to this facility here, and due to the corporate move for 2026, that department has identified not moving forward with this project.
Director Federico, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, the chair. So is this one then just included in the corporate facility move? Because I'm guessing over there, they're going to need some new wiring and stuff. So is this then in with the corporate office, and that's why we can remove it as a separate item from these buildings and not transfer it to corporate facility?
Yeah, through the chair. Yes, so this is a 2025 project or action that we want to remove. The 2026 action with the corporate facility move and fit out and the wiring that would be required is a new project. So that is something else. So this project is showing 40 hours were allocated. We want to drop it to 0. A new project is being put on for the 2026 plan because of that.
Okay. Director Monteith?
Thank you, through the chair. So I'm trying to understand because we're looking at a change from 25 to 26. So if I'm understanding this correctly, in 2025, we taxed for this service in the budget. It would have been part of the budget to be able to buy the supplies, all of that. But if we're moving it to 2026, have we bought the supplies? Are we saving? Or are we, like, I guess costs are going to go up, whether it be this year or next year. So, like, how does that work? Like, is it just a labor load that we're moving, or is it, and then we would have a reduction next year because we already taxed for it this year?
CAO.
I can try to answer that. We have for the IT department, there's 3 GIS individuals, and about 8 IT, and the 40 hours. Yes, you're right. They're taxed because they're full-time employees. That 40 hours will be moved into other areas. There's always work to be found that is needed, and instead of having for staff personal donated time, that reduces that, or it can be used in other areas as needed. There's a lot of meetings that are off-site now. I'll use Sage Mesa as one of them. that's something that, because it's imminent and has to happen, that's where some of the time would be used, and there's some floating time in there. And Wayne, do you have anything else to say with that? It's with the budget? Okay.
No, sorry, nothing to add, sorry.
Can you say something?
There've been a number of things that have come up in this year, so it is more urgent things. So they've had to move hours from some of the things that were planned to different items.
Chair, if I may add also, core work does not come to the board for authorization. Core work doesn't come to the board for authorization to change. So that would actually give more time to the staff for core work.
Director Monteith?
Thank you. So I absolutely understand what you guys are saying about it being staff hours. My concern is about the cost of supplies. So if we're moving the project forward, did we buy the supplies already to do the wire? Are we like, are we splitting it out just on staff, or is it a asset as well that we're deferring?
CAO?
I'm seeing Adam's head shake no. So we haven't bought the supplies yet.
Okay. Anything further on this? Okay, continue on, Matt.
Okay, thank you. So yes, this presentation just includes the staff hours allocated to projects and those changes. So there are 5 actions that have been identified to be deferred. That work for different reasons would be those hours allocated would be moved to 2026 and join that work plan starting in a few months from now. Item 1 that's on here is the Loose Bay site improvements. It's led by the Parks Division. Their plan is to move forward with capital works in early 2026. Item 2, the Corporate Facilities Management Plan. So this would have been looking at all of the facilities with the regional district, and with the focus now on a corporate facility move, this particular project has been identified to be shifted into next year. So there's more emphasis now on higher priority item. Item number 3 that's on here is this Milkameen Recreation Center green and accessible retrofit. So this is contingent on grant funding, which has not been confirmed. It was set for this year. So they just need to defer the project and continue the work into 2026. Again, none of these projects are being stopped or removed. We're just shifting when it's happening and the hours that are there.
Bush has a question. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm just about Loose Bay site. Does it shut down for the winter, and when, or if it does?
We'll ask Mr. Koch to come up.
Thank you. Through the chair, just want to make sure I understood the question from Director Bush. Was it about the rec center shutting down for the winter?
No, Loose Bay site in Oliver.
Oh, yes, it does.
When?
I don't know the date offhand. I can certainly get that to you.
I believe it's November 1st.
Okay. Thanks, Director Shahal. Anything further there? Okay, continue on, Matt.
Item 4 and 5 are from led by Protective Services. These were due to delays. So the first one here is the 911 telecommunications with respect to the tower relocation of Pincushion Mountain and Keremeus. These delays were to land issues and costs associated with preparation. Staff have to explore potential sites, and there's still work to be done. So this project has been identified due to those delays to be shifted. And the 5th item here, the telecommunications for the ComShell update, Blackburn and Tulameen-Colamont area. Again, due to the remoteness of the site, a helicopter is required for the work. With the helicopter's use in 2025 with BC Wildfire was not available. And now at this stage in the year, that work is to be carried forward and moved into next year. So again, we're shifting the project, shifting those hours into next year.
So is this CAO, is this needing a motion then from the board?
At the end of the presentation, yes.
Okay. I'll let Matt continue then.
Okay, so Schedule C, these are changes to projects that may adjust FTE hours that were originally allocated. This should be for 7 actions. Only 7 are detailed in the report, not 8. So we'll go through those just individually. So corporate facility management. This project was a corporate facility search in 2025. That's what the project was about. And now that project is changing and continuing in 2025 to a fit out of the project. So the scope of the project has changed from searching for a facility to working on the plan for improvements and renovations to that. The hours allocated have increased by 685. There were just about 1,100 hours initially assigned to this project, and an increase looking at 1,780 hours. So that work is to finish this year.
Okay. Director Taylor has a question.
Yeah, I get it makes sense for a significant increase in hours for the new corporate facility. Back on the IT component though, where would IT be in one of those columns? Because I would imagine there's a fair amount of additional work unplanned.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yes, through the chair. So the Finance and Information Services is a department. Information Services and GIS fall under that. So the original amount for the Finance and Information team was 170. They've had an increase of approximately 40 hours. Again, at this stage in the year for the remainder, it's an increased amount of hours for planning and the first phase, I suppose, of the fit out. A lot of the work will commence in 2026. So there is an increase that has been identified for that team.
Okay. Director Federico?
Thank you to the chair. So why didn't we just consider this that searching for the corporate facility item closed and then start a new separate one for an outfit of the building? I think around the board table, we would totally understand that it would be something new and a priority heading into next year instead of a scope change, because it's you've completed one complete portion of that. Now you're heading into something completely different. So trying to understand how strategic priorities are working, this for me kind of doesn't make sense, and where they're not two separate priorities.
So it is a, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It is a continuation of the same project. It's not something new. So it's just concurrent, if that makes sense. And as far, if you don't, just to understand it is, each project originally came to you stating this is the purpose. So this is essentially will meet that purpose that we originally anticipated. There's different ways of doing it. That is one way, but this is, if it's a project started and the scope changed, it may not change 100%. It'd have to be a whole new project for it to come back to the board. It's just it's easier to do it this way and add it on. You see what we allocated, you see what we're asking for the extra hours.
Okay. Continue on, Matt.
Change number 2 is the capital projects team. This is the Adrian Tunnel project in Electoral Area E. There's continued work with managing the opening of that and works that are continuing. So there's an increase of hours originally allocated from the project. Again, these estimates were allocated a year ago. The work has continued, and the staff team there have identified an increase of 366 for community environment services, and a little bit more hours allocated for communications and for finance and information.
Okay, continue.
Change number 3, this was discussed this morning, the Electoral Area D parking review. The planning department has undertaken the work with the town of Osoyoos as well, working on a similar project. And due to similar scopes, it was not required, looked at that the hours allocated would not be necessary. So there's a decrease in hours for this project here. So we're just identifying the change there.
Okay. Continuing.
Change number 4, business license review, home occupations. So again, there's a slight increase in staff hours, 10, just from what was originally estimated to what the staff team are looking at right now to complete the project.
Okay. Director Monteith, question?
Thank you through the chair. Where did this home occupation business license review come from? Because I think some of us were against even going down this route of licensing anything other than short-term rentals.
CAO?
I'd have to ask Chris where that came from, and we'll get back to you on that unless he's listening right now.
Okay, yeah, I see her. Not sure. Director Gettens, you have a question as well?
No, thanks to the chair. This is something that I think has to do to support Area F.
Oh, okay. It was at your request on this one?
Yeah, we've got, it's kind of a long story, but the home industry and industrialization use in Area F we're just gonna have a discussion about that.
Okay. So at this stage, it's specific to Area F, so. Go
Okay,
ahead.
all right. Sorry. Yes, I recall that, but we can confirm with Chris. Yes, that would help.
Go ahead, Matt. Oh, am I missing Director Coyne Senior? Go ahead.
So this is just kind of a logistical question. So you're asking, like, in this one for 10 hours, the last one I think was 40 hours. That's just somebody works overtime a couple days, and that, or how do you physically do 10 hours? You're not obviously not going to hire somebody for to fill in those little gaps.
Staff?
Yes, through the chair. So it's a balance of the core work and hours that are available to each staff member. So what we've identified is that a project may take a little bit more time so that they're focusing more of their hours worked in that project, less to core work operations. That's part of it. So no, we're not looking at like a 10-hour increase or a 50-hour increase is not another FTE or anybody else. It's just shifting the hours between the team or individuals.
Okay, CAO?
So internal staff has 1,820 hours they work in a year. That would be part of that 1,820. It's not overtime.
Okay. Continue on.
Number 5, this is specific to West Bench, small holding 5 zone review. So this one has again just a change in scope with the planning team. The original hours that were allocated were 10. They're proposing an increase to 125. So there's a change of 115 hours for that team.
Okay.
Again, they're shifting priorities within the team to continue the work and focus on this. And these scope changes are for this year, 2025.
All right. Is that a new hand, Director Gettens, or is that?
Sorry, no.
Okay, no problem. Continue on.
And item 7, this is the last one that should be on here. Greater West Bench soil deposition bylaw. Again, just a scope and change to additional work that was required from what was previously allocated, a change from 5 hours to 50 with an increase of 45 hours for the planning team.
Okay. Director Taylor, question?
Yeah, wasn't there also a geotech report for Area F in the briefing report?
I think that's been
Yes.
dealt with, but I could be wrong.
Number 6.
Director Gettens?
Oh, yes. So sorry. There it
Thanks,
is.
Chair.
Yep, there is a geotech report that's already been completed a few years ago, and there's a number of recommendations from that geotech report that we haven't been able to get to. So that could be, maybe that's what Director Taylor is talking about.
Yeah. He's nodding yes.
It's in the briefing report, just right above the one you're discussing right now.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt.
I'll attribute that to the clicker. I think it paused and I clicked past it, but yes, there's a slide here for that.
Yeah.
So 0 hours were allocated because there was no limited context, I suppose, when the hours were initially allocated a year ago. So there were no hours allocated. The project moved forward, 150 were allocated, and that's where we are now.
Okay.
So yes, thank you, Director Taylor. But that's all. Thank you.
Is that it, Matt?
Yes.
CAO?
So normally in the past, all of this would have happened without you knowing it. A lot of the carry forwards, you would have seen them pop up in the budget where all of a sudden they weren't there in 2026, they're there in 2020, and they are now. So one of the things that's important to the managing directors and myself is transparency. And with all of this information, you see it now, and you don't have to ask why has this been or hasn't been done. And there will be in strategic priorities for 2026. We're going to be fine tuning this using a lot of the suggestions that the board has made, making it easier to have the add and subtract and have more information available.
Okay, appreciate it. So we do need a motion though to accept these recommendations?
Yes, please.
Director Coyne is moving it, seconded. Thank you. Any discussion on it? Don't believe I'm seeing any hands. We'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. Anything further, CAO?
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. That brings us down to the chair's report. I was just going to mention that yesterday I attended the Long Service Awards for the regional district. Was held here in the office, and we had one employee celebrating 30 years with the regional district, one at 25, two at 20, two at 15, two at 10, and there were 8 that got their 5-year recognition. So we do have quite a few still long-term employees. And I have to admit, I've been here 20 years and there's still a few faces that I do not recognize. So there's a lot of people here.
Were you looking for a pen?
Golly. It went well and everybody seemed to enjoy themselves yesterday. It was nice to see everybody. A lot of our employees, though, do work outside this building, so we don't see them as much, which will be a big advantage when we do get to the new corporate facility. So that is something to look forward to in the future. Directors' motions. Any motions from directors? Not seeing any hands there. So board members, verbal updates. Anything to report from your communities? Director Federico.
Thank you to the chair. I was at the PAC meeting just to kind of give some updates, and something really I find really interesting came out of that. So we've hired 2 new teachers into the school who were previous students of Naramata and were students of our current principal. So I just thought that was really neat, and I thought that I would bring that up, and kudos to right? Appreciation is under the table on that. So I just thought that was really neat, and I wanted to bring that up. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's interesting. Director Roberts.
Thank you. And again, this is not Area G specific. BG in the village. We've got, of course, the spicy time if you want to have it this weekend. The one and only Hot Pepper Festival in Canada in Karamias this weekend. So if you like zest in your life, come on out.
All right, Director Gettins and then Director Taylor.
Thanks to the chair. We had our third Sage Mesa community meeting last week, and I think we had probably over 125 people there, I would say. It was standing room only. I understand there were people even standing outside. So I just wanted to thank staff for that because I know that's been a lot of work to put these events on, especially after hours. And also thank you to the directors who were there in person. I think Julius was there. I know Director Taylor was online. Our MP was there. Our MLA was there. MLA Donor Gold Wilson was there as the water critic. So lots of great discussion. We also had James Mack from Walrus in attendance, along with Connie Chapman, who were able to take questions from the citizens. So I just wanted to, again, thank staff for everything. I've had a lot of follow-up from citizens about what happens if the referendum fails. And so I have let James at Walrus know that citizens would like to know what the payment schedule is. How do those rates increase? What's the process for the levies? What's the province's plan? And then I've also let James know that there's been quite a few requests for a community meeting with the province to hear the plan on how things proceed if it does stay with the province. So I think we'll keep advocating on behalf of Sage Mesa, but I just wanted to thank everybody who came out and supported that.
Okay, no problem. Thanks. Director Taylor, did you have something to report?
Yeah, three points briefly. First, we had a fun volunteer day in our community where all the different volunteer organizations set up a cabana and, just created some awareness. Not all of them did that. It was really quite surprising. Probably 20, 25 little cabana groups set up and probably 40 different groups in a community our size. It was really quite surprising to see the breadth of volunteer activity in a small town. Second point, residents are seeking updates on incorporation. Every day I get stopped and they're just asking. They just want to know. So I've communicated on my own initiative. It's getting on 6 weeks now. I'm just carrying a message from the residents. They are requesting timely and regularized communications. So just wanted this board to be aware of that. And last point, utilities. We've got 3 systems converting. And I think, again, I'm getting a number of queries and questions there. If we can get an update out to those 3 systems that identifies what their new bills are going to be and how long that will cover and that sort of thing, that would be great. And just really appreciate staff's involvement. Actually, staff has had an involvement in both volunteer day, certainly in the incorporation, and all the way through on these utility conversions. Really appreciate the help.
Okay. Director Monteith, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. So it's specifically about UBCM. So I don't know what the process has sort of changed in the past. At UBCM, a director's been able to go and request a meeting of a minister on site. I have a topic that's come up. It's been an old conversation at this board, specifically around school districts and boundaries. So I've spoken to the minister before about it. So when Area D and Area I divided into 2, the services, specifically school districts, have now become a challenge for residents, specifically at Apex and at St. Andrews. So both are in 53 school district and both want to go to 67. 67 and 53 will not ask for a boundary review. Minister said that the school districts need to do it. They both said no. Now they're charging families more for bus transportation because they're out of the school district. So it's continued an issue. So I'd like to be able to request a meeting with the minister again.
Is there a process for that?
Mr. Chair, what I can do is take notes from the director's comments, and when I get on site in Victoria, I will be first at the desk in the morning and try and get a meeting for you.
Okay. I've got, do you want to comment first, CAO, and then I go to?
if I may, Chair, regarding this issue, staff's going to be trying to get a meeting with the two school districts specifically for this. We're going to try to have both of them in the same room. However, at worst case scenario, we'll have one each. By law, we should be having one regardless, once a year, and we're due.
Okay. Director Monteith?
Thank you. So I've gotten all the the minutes for the meetings where the school district 67 has made their decisions, which is really great information that I was going to actually bring to the minister.
Okay. Perfect. Director Coyne Senior, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
There you go. Yeah, I just want to say how I'm really glad that we're doing these pop-up meetings. I'm glad that it worked out this past week in Kermias. We got one coming up in Eastgate shortly, end of the month or next month. And we had the one public meeting at Chain Lake at the Hayes Creek Fire Department a few weeks ago. And then this morning's public information meeting, question and answer period there, really shows that we've been, I personally think we've been lacking in going out and talking to people personally where people can get some feedback there, that they can have an open discussion. I think that I'm really happy that the current administration has gone this way and actually coming out and dealing with the public in person, so that we don't end up with so many controversial items coming to the board. I think a lot of this stuff needs to be done at those types of meetings like we went through this morning. It was, you could hear the frustration in people's voices, not believing that they've been heard, not understanding how the system works, first of all. So I'm just really happy that we're actually making our presence known within the communities and making staff more available to the average taxpayer. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to report? Director Johansson, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that yesterday we had the SOS Medical Foundation fundraising campaign, a $2 million campaign announced at SOGH. The campaign is looking to deliver some modern diagnostic equipment, a digital x-ray equipment and ultrasound equipment for SOGH, and also the workforce housing that, thank you very much, that the hospital district provided a $300,000 interest-free loan so that we can get moving on that project as soon as possible. Hopefully the campaign goes smoothly and the money is raised in a timely manner, as those things are needed for SOGH. And I'll keep the board updated as we move forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other verbal updates? Seeing none, that brings us down to the board representations. We got municipal finance and municipal insurance. Those will both be held at UBCM. Anything from OBWB? Director Holmes.
Yeah, a few things. So on September 5th was their annual public meeting. And at the meeting, they announced the recipient of the 2025 Make Water Work Community Champion.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time ever, it was the town of Osoyoos. So maybe Director McCortaff will have more to say about that, but okay, congratulations. We also heard from Dr. Anna Warwick-Sears, the retired executive director from OBWB. She provided a retrospective of her 19 years of the water board and where it was at the time and how far it's come, which was quite interesting. We heard from Dr. Nelson Jatal, who's the water stewardship director for the OBWB, and he presented on the water boards and Okanagan Nation Alliance's hydrometrics program, which has really taken off as well. Following the annual public meeting, there was an abbreviated board meeting, and I think the main thing that came out of that was the board decided to send a letter to the Minister of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship to address concerns regarding kind of the disconnect between the province's new method of rating drought and that it doesn't really sync with the what's actually happening on the ground in the communities. And so, for example, throughout the summer, the new method rated regional drought, indicating it was low or there was no drought conditions in the Okanagan, whereas there were a number of creeks throughout the region which were really concerningly low. So, and many utilities in the Okanagan have been required to use more advanced water restrictions. So that letter is being written, and it echoes issues by the Okanagan Nation Alliance, who have also written to the minister. So that's a big topic of conversation. And that's it.
Okay, thank you for that. Okanagan Film Commission, anything there, Director Coyne?
Meeting tonight, so.
All right, Okanagan Regional Library, anything, Director Federico?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So we had a meeting yesterday. So we've passed the budget for next year. So we will know what those numbers are shortly. And then we've passed an official policy for our library spaces to be official heating and cooling centers. So in Vernon, Kelowna, and Enderby, their library spaces can open as an official heating and cooling space where they would be reimbursed from EMBC or EMCR, whatever the acronym is on that one. But we didn't have a policy in place, so now we do. So if any of the municipalities are looking for a space to be designated within their communities, the ORL now has a policy around that, so you can work together. Same with the regional district if that's what we choose in our rural areas. And then next week at UBCM, they have a meeting with Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs staff in which they will be advocating for an increase in funding for libraries throughout the province, as they've not seen one in a very long time.
Okay. Sterile insect release, Director Bush, anything there?
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting this summer, but I know one of the problems is with codling moth increasing is when BC Tree Fruit shut down, all the bins were froze, like they weren't being used. They were stuck somewhere in La La Land. So they've imported thousands and thousands of bins from the States, which has brought in a lot of codling moth. And the reason the States are going to plastic bins is because the codling moth there's no place for them to hide in them. But so it's this SIR program is really struggling with the increase of the moss, but they are working on it.
Okay, thanks for that. Simia, anything there, Director Coyne? Nothing? No? Okay. Starling Control, Director Bush?
Yeah, the same thing with codling moth or starlings is that you know, for years we haven't had a problem, but I see there's getting to be more and more. And we're having problems getting trappers. We're having problems with people even wanting to come out to meetings or anything like that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that program.
Okay, I guess we'll stay tuned then. ETSI anything there, Director McCordoff?
Yes, thank you. The fall funding is in place until October the 9th. There's $1 million, of course, available for economic development projects. So if you're thinking about it, make sure you get it done before October the 9th. And the board of ETSI meets 4 times a year. 2 of them are online and 2 of them are in person. So our next meeting, which is on October 2nd and 3rd, after the regional district meeting, is in Rosslyn and Castlegar. So I will be attending that.
Okay, thank you for that. Is Director Gettins, do you have a hand up or is that a leftover?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Chair. I just wanted, I don't know where the right place is to bring it up, but I just wanted to acknowledge that I was listening to the CBC and there was a representative there from the Federation of Students for Post-Secondary School. and she was talking about the cuts to education and what's happening where the cuts have, and is it like fewer international students as well, and so there aren't as many classes being offered in schools. And I was thinking about our college program here in the Okanagan. My son goes to it, and he can't take any classes in Penticton. There's nothing that's being offered. He has to go to Kelowna now, which we didn't really realize was going to happen this year. And I thought it was an interesting thing because she did talk about the trickle effect, especially in our smaller communities, and students not being able to finish their trades in communities. So I just wanted to flag that to the board in general. We don't have somebody representing, secondary schools on this board, but it is going to impact some of our rural education. And I just thought I would bring that up in case there's any opportunity to discuss it at UBCM.
Okay, thanks for raising it. Director McCorduff.
Yeah, thank you. Director Gettins just reminded me that last week I had a meeting, an in-person meeting with Dr. Neil Facina, who is the president of the Okanagan College. Really interesting conversation, and I would recommend any of you that were interested in talking to him. He is based in West Kelowna, but he deals with Okanagan College courses and buildings and so on from Osoyoos all the way up to, I think it's Golden. And his main focus, he's trying to get around to visit all of these things, is to try and make it accessible to anybody who wants to go. So he says his motto is anytime, anywhere, anyone. And I really think that he's got the right idea on helping students. Mainly, he wasn't looking at the ones who might go to college in person, 19 to 24. His thing was, how about a 30-year-old, a 35-year-old who has a job, who has a family, has a mortgage? How is it easy for them to get online courses? Really interesting, smart, really with it individual. If anybody has any chance to meet with him, I think he's the right person to be dealing with the Okanagan College in our area. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Seeing nothing else, we move on to the closed session.
Can I actually just have a quick follow-up? Sorry, Chair.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, thank you. I'm just wondering if maybe we can see if that fellow can come to talk to the board. Because I hear that idea about anytime, anywhere, but what's happened is that the young students are all doing their classes online. That's what's available. And it doesn't feel, that feels like a big part of secondary school that's being, or post-secondary that's being missed, is doing their classes in person. But there were no in-person classes being offered in this particular, in my personal case here. So I would love it if this person can come talk to the board. I think it's quite important for the Valley and for our region.
Okay, we'll inquire. Okay, closed session that in accordance with section 91 CEIK and 92B of the Community Charter, the board closed the meeting to the public on the basis of acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements. If the council considers that the disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality, the receipt of advice that is the subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provisions of a municipal service that are in their preliminary stages then, and that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public, and the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and the provincial government or the federal government or both, or between a provincial government or the federal government or both and a third party. So looking for a motion to go in camera on those bases. Moved, seconded, thank you. All in favor? Great. Any opposed? Will Thank you. Motion to adjourn, moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? We are adjourned And that moves us on to, gosh, hospital district. So I'm going to turn it over to Director Johansson.
Thanks, Chair. I'll call this meeting of the Okanagan-Similkameen Regional Hospital District to order at 11:52, Thursday, September 18th, and look for a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated. Moved. Seconded. All in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. First item is some minutes to adopt at the September 4th, 2025 minutes of the Okanagan-Similkameen Regional Hospital District Board be adopted. Moved. Second. Any further discussion on those minutes? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. And our one item of business is the 2025-2026 Global Grant. I'll pass this over to our CAO.
Thank you. Interior Health has provided a letter seeking the board's approval to redistribute funds between capital improvement projects and the minor equipment global grant. And with that, the administrative recommendation is that the Board of the Okanagan-Similkameen Regional Hospital District approve the reallocation of funds within the previously approved fund requesting as outlined in the 2025-2026 Global Grant Letter dated July 22nd, 2025 from Interior Health. Staff's here to answer questions.
Director Coyne, just moving. Okay. Second. Yeah, there's not much here, just some small changes. The only projects that are being impacted are in Oliver, the McKinney Place, the nurse call system replacement, and the facility bus replacement, which I think were impacted. We knew they were impacted already. And the other good news is the PRH medical gas project is not being impacted and it's moving forward. So if there's no other comments or questions, Director Holmes?
Yeah, I just hope this doesn't become a common practice from Interior Health. I mean, it's like, you don't want it to become, well, they didn't get what they wanted first time round, so they do some maneuvering to get it, to do it this way, you know, that's, maybe it's just, I'm not that trustful, but that's kind of the way it smells.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic that I don't think they've had to deal with before, that we provided 35% and then last year 30%. We did have a chair meeting with Minister Ma, Minister of Infrastructure, and the Ministry of Health. I think they're trying to wrap their head around the challenges that regional hospital districts are having in terms of funding. And there's a bit of a disconnect between the Ministry of Infrastructure and the Ministry of Health, where the Ministry of Health before would be the ones that you would go to and say we weren't able to give the Interior Health the full amount that they asked for and ask them to fund the shortfall. We did that this year again, and we got a letter back from Minister Ma basically saying that she didn't approve that we only gave the Interior Health 30%. And that came up at the meeting with the Minister of Infrastructure and Ministry of Health, that she really doesn't have that authority. You're looking at the letters patent, it's up to the hospital district what percentage they're going to fund. So they're trying to wrap their head around how this is going to work going forward. And it's getting louder and louder as the pushback from other hospital districts are not funding the full amount of the ask, in particular large infrastructure projects. We do have a meeting at UBCM to continue this discussion, and I know the one with the Minister of Infrastructure and the Ministry of Health will be ongoing meetings. So we're breaking new ground here, and there's some challenges going on, and things are not getting done, and that's getting pretty concerning, not just with us, but with other hospital districts. So I will provide more information on that as we move forward with those discussions, but your point is well taken, Director Holmes, that this kind of juggling isn't a solution. We didn't vote on that motion, did we? No. Okay, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. And that was all that we had on the agenda today. I'll just look for a motion to adjourn. Move second. All in favor? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Johansson. That brings us to Community Services, and I'll go to Director Monteith to chair this one. So over to you.
Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 11:57. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda. First, second, all in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item B, we have a delegation. We have Sarah Boyle to our CO, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Committee of the Whole, Director Monteith. There is a presentation, I believe, that was circulated in advance. Does everyone have a copy of that? Great. Great, thank you. I appreciate the time. I know that some of familiar faces are very familiar with the proposed National Park Reserve project. There's also some new faces. It's been a couple of years since I've had the opportunity to speak with the RDOS, so this is a chance for us all to get the same baseline information and introduce myself so that new members know what the current status is of this project and have my contact information if there's questions they get from their constituents moving forward. So I can take questions during the presentation, and I'm aware that I am what is standing between you and lunch. So we'll try to make this efficient as well. So I've heard there's a lag time. Okay, so all of you should have this in your background information, so I won't belabor this, but Parks Canada manages and protects significant examples of natural and cultural heritage. So we're starting with me giving a brief overview of what Parks Canada does, and then we'll slide into the proposed park in this region. There's currently 48 national parks, 171 national historic sites, and a number of marine conservation areas. And it currently protects 3.4% of Canada. That does make us the largest federal landholder of lands. Above DND is second, so Department of National Defense is the second in that. Okay, I'll get this. Okay, there are economic benefits associated with Parks Canada. There's a number of visitors that come every year to all of the sites. Some sites have more than others. They generate $4 billion per year in national gross domestic product, and that's the equivalent of 11 million every day in communities across the country. Within Parks Canada, there's about 5,000 jobs, but the spin-off in urban, rural, and northern communities are 40,000 jobs, 2.4 billion in labor income, and 484 million in taxes back into communities as well. So there's over 200 locations across Canada. They provide important economic drivers, attracting economic benefits for small communities, Indigenous and local enterprises, and a number of different components that support sustainable local economies. And a part of why I'm here is a larger federal government commitment to protect 30% of lands and waters by 2030. And the commitment that has recently been reaffirmed by the King in the speech from the throne, if any of you paid attention to that this spring, was to create at least 10 new national parks, 10 new national marine conservation areas, and 15 urban parks. And that will be achieved by working in partnerships with the governments or territories that have those lands, as well as with Indigenous areas to have a co-management board to work on those areas. So in this region, negotiations are underway to contribute to this goal, and I'll be going into that a little bit more further on in this slide. How do you, if anyone has questions, please just speak up, or I'll have some pause before I move on. Okay, thank you. So to give you a bit of background, the map that you have in front of you is a map of Canada. And in this map, there are 39 natural regions that Canada is split up into. And the idea of the national park system across Canada is that each of these 39 regions should have a represented national park to protect that ecoregion. So this gives a bit of background in terms of why the national park system is laid out as it is. This current area is Natural Region 3, the Interior Dry Plateau. It has, as you're well aware, this semi-arid shrub steppe community that is really rare in Canada. Okay, there is a number of steps in process to establish a national park, 1 through 5. We're currently at step 4. Many of you who've been involved in this process since the early 2000s, this process did start in 2004, are well aware that these steps take a while sometimes. And we'll expand on this a bit more. So these are recent parks, Thaidenenene and Paduamgek National Park. One is in the Northwest Territories, the other is in PEI. And most new parks and national in Canada are created in collaboration with Indigenous peoples, as opposed to previous ways of creating national parks, particularly the mountain parks that are older, established in the late 1800s, where Indigenous peoples were forcibly removed from those areas. So there's been an evolution in terms of how Parks Canada works with Indigenous peoples in creating protected areas. So getting into the proposal for the National Park Reserve in the South Okanagan. This is that natural systems plan again map. As I mentioned, this is in natural region number 3, which currently has no representation for a national park. So that's one of the big pushes, is that this is an area in a region that does not have any representation of a protected place nationally. So there's a zoom of that thumbprint right on the US border. As you can see, it is between Oliver and Karameas, as well as Osoyoos, and then Costin, and then down to the US border. Originally, when this proposal came out in 2004, it was about 3 times the size and went into the Snowy Cathedral protected area. Subsequent public consultations have landed on this particular map that you see in front of you. Okay.
Yeah, so you said you were doing this in conjunction with local First Nations. Do you have both nations on board now?
Well, so the negotiations, I'm sorry, I don't know who I'm looking at.
Right,
Oh, sorry, thank you. Okay. Thanks, Director Quinn. So the nations in this area, the representative bands for the Silks Okanagan Nation are the Osoyoos Indian Band and the Lower Similkameen Indian Band. They remain neutral on the project, but they sit as partners at the table and discussing the negotiations. So there's been there's no decision on if there'll be a national park reserve. The representatives from the province, representatives from the Silks Okanagan Nation and Parks Canada are currently still trying to negotiate an establishment agreement on this, but everyone's still at the table.
So really, we're 21 years into this and we're nowhere closer than we were on day 1.
No, we're closer than we've ever been before in terms of deciding in terms of deciding on what agreed governance structures will be. There's still work to do, but
if the nations aren't on board yet, then how can we say that?
Oh, well, they'll be, yes, everyone's still at the table. I'm sure that you understand that sometimes these decisions of large land governance are difficult to there has to be an establishment agreement that all parties agree to and sign. And so that's currently what's under discussion. But everyone is still at the table and there's progress being made in drafting what that agreement will look like.
We have a question from Director Bush.
Hi, Sarah. From
Director Bush, yes.
Yeah. So is the OIB, do they have land involved in this, or why are they involved?
It is, so both LSIB and OIB, this is their traditional territory area of interest.
But
So-
there's no reservation and land involved in OIB?
No, and there isn't for LSIB either, but it's claimed in their unceded land. So you're talking about the reserve, like the Indian reserves? Yeah, neither band have, it's adjacent to both of their reserves, but it does not have either Lower Similkameen or Ossuis Indian Band reservation lands in the proposal.
Thank you. Continue.
Okay. So map is in front of you of this thumbprint. The area under discussion is in the crosshatched. There's 3 colors that you'll see in front of you. There's gray, green, and orange. The gray and the green are provincial lands and provincial protected areas. That's the focus of the land transfer. The private lands are denoted in orange, and those private lands would not be a part of any land transfer, and those would remain under the jurisdiction of currently so whether that's provincial, regional district, local municipal, those private lands would only be included if there was a willing seller, willing buyer scenario. So, and here's an example of nice photo of those areas. This is the main reasons why this area was selected. There's a lot of, as I mentioned before, there's been many iterations of this park concept and draft boundaries as public consultations. The feasibility assessment started in 2004 and ended in 2012 with both the province and the Okanagan Nation determining it's feasible. The province at that time was not ready to proceed. There were issues. It was a bilateral process from 2004 to 2011, where just BC and Canada were sitting at the table. Indigenous partners were not at the table, and cattle ranching was going to be phased out. In 2011, the province indicated that that process needed to stop. And in 2017, sorry, I'm waiting for the next slide, the process resumed with the caveats that Indigenous representatives needed to sit at the table and that cattle grazing under no circumstances could stop. So cattle grazing had to be incorporated into go forward discussions in perpetuity. And that resulted in the 273 square kilometer boundary that you see today. So a memorandum of understanding was signed in 2019 to move forward into negotiations based on those decisions that the park was feasible. The memorandum of understanding really is a commitment to enter negotiations, to agree on common goals, and to share what other commitments would be taken into considerations. Items such as concerns that there would be toll roads, so commitments that there would be no toll roads, there'd be no expropriation of private lands. Interim protection would occur that would ensure that no new mineral or forestry development would occur while negotiations were underway. Public highways would remain under provincial administration, and that existing provincial and regional government authorizations processes would continue while negotiations were ongoing. So what's next? We're currently in stage 4, negotiating establishment agreements. As Director Coyne has pointed out, we've been in this situation since 2020 in terms of negotiations. At the point between 4 and 5, all parties would need to either decide to move forward to sign an establishment agreement or the process would stop. If the stage 5 is achieved, the process would then transition to operations and management planning, where there is a substantial amount of public consultation and regional government involvement in moving forward on what management planning and transition to operations would look like. And that's it. So here's my contact. Oh.
Thank you. We have Director Roberts.
Thank you. And through the chair, of course, with recent incidents in the federal system of parks, concerns around fire management and the management of land, especially in conjunction with residential and other areas that are around. And there's continued concern around that. And again, when we always talk about financial benefits locally, a lot of us we're already a destination, and there's not going to, we don't see the same level in regards to when we talk about income, and that do understand the protection of specific species, and of course an area that's covered by a lot of protection already from the provincial level and with First Nations. So again, though, I'd like the answer around the fire protection if you could.
Yeah, no, and again, we're in negotiations, so we're talking about governance. We're not going into detailed operational planning, but I'll do my best to answer your question. There would be focused fire resources that are brought to the area because the area is surrounded by other communities, private lands interspersed. There would have to be an all hazards approach, not only to fire, but to other natural hazards as well. So there would need to be involvement with Parks Canada staff to augment local other fire response components, First Nations, regional district prevents not only for fire, but for flood, landslides, et cetera as well. So there'd be added capacity. It would not be done independently. It does, there's the acknowledgement from the province and the First Nations partners that there does need to be an extensive collaborating and pre-planned approach, likely with memorandums of understanding assigned. So when emergency does happen, that the resources and deployments are in place to move and not be worrying about talking to the right people.
Yeah, so for the people that live within the boundaries, if they want to sell out, do they have to sell to the park, or?
No, they do not. No, it has to be willing seller, willing buyer. But we have been approached by numerous different landowners who are interested in selling lands to parks, but there's no obligation for them to sell to Parks Canada. It's at their own free will.
Yeah, just wondering who sets sort of expectations on Crown Range, well, what was Crown Range, which is within the park, who sort of manages that if you're a rancher?
Yeah, no, so there's been so that's still subject of negotiations. There's been a range policy officer that's been brought in from the province. We have had some meetings with the range holders as well to get their feedback. A lot of the process is still being determined, but the proposal is that range holders need to be impacted least amount as possible. They need to have continuity in how they're running their operations. They can't have AUMs be discernibly different than they are now. They have businesses to run. They need to work on the same license tenures, 25 years moving forward. So the proposal going forward is that Parks Canada would be adopting the applicable range requirements, both under Forest Range Practices Act and the Range Act, and would be providing a very, very similar regime to what the ranchers already have in place.
Sorry, just not yet. Director Taylor?
Follow up. How do they generate income in order to, or how many jobs would they need to manage that park, and how would they generate that income?
Like for park staff?
Well,
Or-
would it be park staff? You say it's typically and this would likely be managed by First Nations, I think.
There would be in other areas that are cooperatively management boards. It's a mix between between First Nations staff, local staff, Parks Canada staff. Typically try to hire specifically from the region that the park is in. So there would, and it's anticipated that people wearing green shirts, like working for Parks Canada, that there would be 30 to 40 full-time equivalents. As the park ramps up, that wouldn't be immediate. And there would be dedicated support for range agrologists to work with the range holders in that land piece.
Director McCordoff?
Yes, thank you very much. I have been very supportive of this national park ever since the first office opened in Osoyoos in 2002. So I've been watching it for many, many, many years. I'm just wondering, we keep hearing when asking, how long is this going to take? And they say, well, we're close, and it'll happen soon. And I would be delighted if it was happening soon, but I'm just wondering, do you have any idea how much longer this will take, or is it sort of at a standstill now and it's going to take quite a bit longer? I just wondered. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary McCordoff. The process of negotiations is there is an agreement in principle that exists between the First Nations and the Parks Canada staff that's it's negotiator supported. It still has a number of steps it needs to move through. The land transfer agreement between the province, the nations, and Parks Canada is still under negotiations. Well, it's so that's really the main piece that's still underway. But we're continuing to try to move forward so that we have have a decision point that we're hopefully will be sooner than later. I would anticipate the next couple of years that there's a decision point, recognizing that this process has been going on a long time and a lot of people are getting impatient. Yeah.
Thank you. Director Barkwell.
Maybe there's two questions here. Is the grazing detrimental to the sort of ecological values that you're trying to preserve? And if so, is there any kind of a process or plan that could be done to buy out those grazing rights?
Well, we heard loud and clear from the province and from range holders and from First Nations as well that they want to see grazing continue on the landscape. That, however, there are some impacts, ecological impacts to grazing that happen. There's also better ways to graze. There's regenerative grazing. There's a lot of old techniques that are coming new again and in light. A lot of range holders need support, financial support and/or physical support to put those in place. So one of the components we are looking to have in the park is a budget to help range holders meet those ecological requirements and impacts, and for them not to have to bear that burden themselves. If they need to protect water, or there needs to be restoration of native grasslands or invasive species work as well, that won't be a burden of the range holders to bear alone.
Okay, so the second part of that was is there any idea, like, wouldn't it be better just to buy out the rights and end the grazing?
Yeah, the province has told us that's not on the table.
Willing buyer, willing seller, just like the land. If landholders would sell the land, why wouldn't a grazing right be available?
Yeah. No, the range tenures and licenses. That is one. There are some incompatible tenure uses, like mining claims, for example, that would also need to be addressed. But the province, Lower Similkameen Indian Band and Osoyoos Indian Band all want to see range continue on that landscape. Maybe not in a way that is more compatible with environmental outcomes and requirements, but they want to see that continue. So that's part of the negotiations that Parks Canada has been told that we need to sign on to that and need to commit to that.
So it looks like we have Director Bush that would like to comment as well.
Just wanted to point out that cattle grazing is actually beneficial to areas like this. Overgrazing's not, but cattle grazing very beneficial, not just for ecological concerns, but also for fire management and everything. So yeah, don't even think about that.
It sounds like Director Bush has spoken. Director Coyne.
Yeah, I was going to echo some of what Director Bush was saying. Nature's Trust is doing some really good work with, I think it's Clifton's, on how to do that. There's examples out in the prairies where they're using it to mimic the movement of buffalo on the prairies and stuff. So there's ways to do it that are like Director Bush was saying, if overgrazing is bad, but grazing itself is not. I mean, it mimics the ungulate population, so it's beneficiary to grasslands. But my question to you is, so when this whole thing started back in the early 2000s, I mean, there was these grandiose plans of like this kind of like we were all going to benefit like hugely from this. I was like a Trump over there, hugely from all this. This new economic activity from the parks, and now we're down to like a grasslands protected area. Is this like the final version of this, or is there going to be like another revision where it's like it's just there's nothing, right? It's just that's a protected area. You're going to get to walk on it, and that's it. Or like we were promised the world when this all started. I was on council way back then.
Okay.
And, we had meetings in the Similkameen and we had meetings in the Okanagan, and they were like, yeah, you guys are going to get all the benefits of Banff and Jasper and all the rest of it. And now we're looking at what we have, and it's nowhere near what we were promised.
Yeah, no, that kind of stage 1 and 2 where they were trying to figure out that boundary. And I think I mentioned that it was about 3 times the size when it first started. And as things shrunk down based on feedback from the public, from local government, from First Nations, that boundary that you see substantially is the final boundary. 99% there. There's some small tweaks that might be made. For example, there was a request from the Osoyoos Wildlife Federation gun range outside of Strawberry Creek to remove their license from the park. So that did occur as well. So very small boundary changes, but the boundary you see is 99% there.
Thank you. So I actually have a question for our staff that kind of parallels yours. The board has at times talked about a cycling trail in the South Okanagan. Is that impacted by this proposal area? Sorry, just another conversation of a user, so.
Thank you for the invite to the table. So my understanding of the park boundary is the new boundary is that the KVR, that regional trail connection that we desire so greatly to connect Penticton and Osoyoos, is outside of the management area directly of this.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, Director Pendergraft.
Not really a question, but I do know there was a desire from former Area C director to actually have a trail from Oliver over the top to Area C that was, I believe, in our parks or trails master plan, actually. So we're not totally separated from what could happen with the national park.
I guess that's what I'm looking for, right? So that we're having that voice at the table, because I know that was a conversation we've had off and on. So I guess maybe just flagging it to staff. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you for your presentation. It was very timely. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that will conclude this meeting, and I will turn it over to the CAO. Oh, sorry, to the chair.
Thank you, Director Monteith. And that does it for today. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Sorry, I didn't ask for a motion to end that meeting.
That helps. There you
First, Any motion?
that.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. To the chair.
Thank you, Director Monteith. In closing, we'll see most of you down at UBCM, and if not there, the next board meeting.